resign.
It's over there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh!
So you should resign?
Yes.
What's your message?
Oh!
What's your message to the Prime Minister? Why go public?
Today also is officially the last day in the House of Commons. So this will be the last official question period live stream. We are wrapping up the end of the year. We're coming down to the end of the wire. Yeah, the Canadian dollar dropped quite a bit and is continuing to drop by the looks of it. Doesn't shock me after the update yesterday. The $40 billion deficit, we were told they wouldn't go over $40 billion, and they went $22 billion over the deficit, stacking up the total to $62 billion. In total, you had $40 billion.
Billion?
If they didn't scrap the $250 checks, it would have been 67, almost 68 billion. Michael Barrett breaking. Trudeau's deficit is $62 billion. This can't go on. Call an election now. Put Terry Fox back in the passport and call an election now. We need a Terry Fox election, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm outside the chamber of the House of Commons right now, and the Trudeau NDP Liberal government has just dropped a $62 billion deficit onto the backs of Canadians. This, of course, is with the soaring, the exploding cost of living that Canadians are facing, the doubling of home prices.
By the way, literally trending now, the Canadian dollar, and just announced trending in Canada, aka Chrystia Freeland resigning.
2 million food bank users every month. Crime having risen 50% under Justin Trudeau. And we were expecting to have the opportunity to be able to challenge the government on this document, on the $62 billion in spending, but Justin Trudeau's government is in complete chaos. His finance minister has quit. His housing minister has quit. And now they're not even, the Liberals aren't even going to take questions on their $62 billion of your money that...
Yeah, Karina walked in, dropped off the booklet, the statement, and then left. Covered this yesterday, the literal collapse, one for one, of our government, live in real time. It was some of the craziest shit ever. They tried to dodge giving statements. Well, they did. They technically successfully dodged giving statements on the deficit. And they were close, very close to being successful in dodging actually handing in said papers and documents or the booklet of the economic statement. Moving on, look at this guy right here. Isn't he just everybody's absolute favorite right now? I say that with the most extreme amount of sarcasm possible. Time after time, this man had the opportunity to grow a spine, to stand up for Canadians, to walk the walk instead of just talking the talk. At least the Bloc Québécois actually stood up for what they said. They actually voted against Trudeau. But no, Jagmeet, third non-confidence vote, stood up right beside him. And now every single time this man opens his mouth, it's blaming the Liberal government for this, that, and the third, while he single-handedly has helped all of this go down. He is just as much to blame as Trudeau is. He's essentially, the NDP right now are essentially just an extension, a Google Chrome extension of the Liberal Party. And they get installed and uninstalled whenever the user feels like it. They're not even necessary to the government. They're only necessary when Trudeau wants them to be. As much as I don't want to listen to him, let's listen to the media absolutely chew him apart for his decisions, his hypocrisy, his two-faced lies and manipulation.
No confidence in the Liberal government as soon as possible.
All tools, all options are on the table. People are hurting.
People are struggling, and so all options are on the table.
Just to clarify, you're calling for him to resign, but you are not willing to vote no confidence in his government? How do those two things connect?
All options are on the
That's
table.
not an answer.
All options.
That's not an answer. What does it mean for your support with the Liberals, though? How can you say he needs to resign, but then you're not telling us what you're going to do for non-confidence?
Telling you that all options are on the table.
Will you support the Fez? And also, are you willing to continue to support the Liberals if there is a different leader aside from Trudeau?
Right now, that's not in front of us. There's no votes in front of us, but we will take each vote. And right now, literally, everything's on the table.
Mr. Singh,
That's all he has to say. Everything is on the table. That's all he has to say after backing this man for years. He wants his pension, bottom line. And I think the NDP are also terrified that if an early election were to come, they would lose probably 90% of their seats, if I had to guess. They don't really seem like a very valuable party to the Canadian people. And I don't know why David Eby keeps getting in. I'm sure there's a lot of things that could be said about that situation. And the absolute destruction of British Columbia. I confronted Justin Trudeau and asked him what gives him the right to continue as Prime Minister of Canada. He's a public figure. He's not the king. And he has failed. It is time for him to go. It is time for an election.
King Trudeau, what gives you the right to continue? What gives you the right to stay in office? You failed Canada. You've ruined our country. You're done. Walk away. You don't have an ounce of your father's integrity. At least he walked in the snow.
My favorite part about that is the guy left the door open for him to finish what he was saying.
Father's integrity. At least he walked in the snow. You've ruined this country. Everyone around you is running from you. They're abandoning you. Chrystia Freeland, Sean Fraser, they've all left you. It's time for you to go. It's time for Canada to have an election. You're not the king.
Time to end King Trudeau's reign. All he could do is smile. All he could do is smile as he gets in. He knows it's over. He knows it's a sinking ship. This last night is living proof. He had to stand in front of his entire party and give a statement. Probably something around the lines of, "We are very united, and I stand united. And Chrystia Freeland was such a strong member in our party. She will remain a strong figure within our party long after she is gone." Probably something around those lines, and a lot of, "You will do as I say, or you will end up like Chrystia Freeland." Long gone! Guys, it's the Titanic. Like I said yesterday, the ship has already broken into two pieces, and we are seeing the final descent of the ship right now. Literally as we speak. Speaking of this little secret... By the way, this was apparently a very secret little meeting they had here in a different building, a completely different wing of Parliament, trying to hide from reporters, from what I've heard. I find that kind of funny. They had this emergency caucus meeting with the Liberal Party, and they held it somewhere where they could at least attempt to hide from reporters. Didn't work out though.
For that.
Yeah, you
Sir, how do you deal with Trump when you can't even deal with your own caucus?
Does he still have your
We'll make
confidence?
sure
Does
we'll
he
make
still
sure
have
that
your
we
confidence?
focus on what matters
Sir,
for
does
Canadians.
he
and
What
still
matters
have
to
your
Canadians? What
confidence?
matters to
Shell-shocked that there were this many people there. He didn't even know what to say. He was just stumbling, trying to get words out. "Oh, yes, we're fighting for Canadians. The party's united." How many times do you think we're going to hear the party is united?
do you still have
Look at them, and this fucking... He's like, what? Why are they all here? What are they doing here? Like, they actually tried to hold a secret little press conference, emergency press conference, away from the media, but the media was like, "We found you." The media, like I said, man, they're a swarm of angry locusts, and they will do anything to get where they need to. They really are. The media it's pretty disgusting. But in this case right here, I mean, when the Liberals are trying to run away and hide, it takes a gross set of people to expose a gross set of people. And I guess that's the one good thing the mainstream media provides.
But that doesn't mean you have confidence in him, do you?
Oh, he is the Prime Minister, so
that's how you answer.
Do you have confidence in your leader? Well, he is the Prime Minister, so... Well, does that mean you have confidence in him? Well, he's the Prime Minister. What? Excuse me? This guy looks like he just came from Hogwarts.
It's a loaded question today, isn't it? What I will tell you is I'm very disappointed that Chrystia Freeland has left the cabinet. I have tremendous amount of respect for her, and I have a lot of confidence in her abilities. I think it's a huge loss for Canadians at this time, and I wish her the very best.
What do you make of her reasonings? What do you make of what she said in the letter and why she resigned?
I haven't spoken to her personally, so I only know what she's already written and disclosed. But I do believe that she felt very strongly about the job that she was entrusted to do.
And there you have it. A lot of them seem to be completely, more or less, divided. Some of them saying he should step down, some saying, well, he's the prime minister. It's a really stupid thing to say. Yeah, no shit, he's the prime minister. We know that. Finally.
Mess. Yesterday was a gong show at the bottom of a dumpster fire, wrapped up in a cluster. The finance minister resigns, the prime minister hides all day and then has to beg his MPs not to fire him. But the worst news, buried underneath it all, was a devastating gut punch to Canadian taxpayers. A $62 billion deficit smashing through the already insane $40 billion guardrail. Canada is a serious G7 NATO partner staring down the threat of 25% tariffs. We deserve a strong leader with a new mandate. Why not let Canadians decide by calling a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Minister of Finance and Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I want to start by thanking the Opposition House Leader for his heartfelt congratulations on my new role. I want to tell him, Mr. Speaker, and all Canadians, that our government is very proud of the fall economic statement that we made public yesterday. Mr. Speaker, the fall economic statement speaks to growth in the Canadian economy. It speaks to supporting Canadians with serious affordability challenges. It speaks to a declining debt to GDP ratio, the best in the G7. And Mr. Speaker, we haven't finished supporting Canadians, something the Conservatives aren't interested in doing.
Oh my God. They actually believe themselves with that statement. Wow.
Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Well, I'd like to congratulate the new finance minister for being the fourth finance minister in a 24-hour period. But it's the same old talking points. What they did yesterday was smash through that $40 billion guardrail. What does that mean? It now means that Canadians have to pay back all that money with interest, and 43 cents of every dollar you earn now has to go to pay the tax burden. More money to bankers and bondholders. In fact, the government's now spending more on the interest on that debt than on health care. But the Prime Minister doesn't care. He doesn't worry about where the money comes from. He's never had to worry about that. So why not let Canadians decide their future by calling a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Minister of Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect their government to be focused on their economic concerns. They expect their government to be focused on the real threat that 25% tariffs across the board would mean to the Canadian economy. That's the work that our government's doing. I can report, Mr. Speaker, I had an encouraging preliminary conversation with the Foreign Affairs Minister yesterday, with the Border Czar, with Mr. Homan. We look forward to working with the incoming administration on border security, something that the fall economic statement generously supported yesterday. This is the work Canadians expect us to be focused on, and we're looking forward to doing that work.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Yeah, they were so proud of that fall budget that they tabled it in the House and then ran and hid for the rest of the day. But let's recap. The Prime Minister announced $250 checks and then had to cancel them. He announced a 2-month GST tax trick that businesses say they won't implement, and the Prime Minister now says is optional. A broken immigration system, Parliament seized with a $400 million corruption scandal, all the while 2 million food bank visits, doubled housing costs, record high consumer debt, the dollar below 70 cents, and the Prime Minister raising prices by quadrupling the carbon tax. Yes. Again, why not let Canadians decide their future by calling a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Minister of Finance and for Intergovernmental Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, as I said a moment ago, we're proud of the fiscal and economic record of this government. This is a record, Mr. Speaker, of supporting Canadians through the pandemic. This is a record of investing in entrepreneurship and innovation. This is a record in providing, for example, Canadians with $10 a day childcare, historic investments to speak to not only affordability issues, but growing the economy in a sustainable way. Mr. Speaker, this is work we're proud to continue to do for Canadians, and we find it unfortunate that it's the opposition that's trying to ground this House of Commons into chaos.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg. Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has lost the confidence of his ministers, of Liberal MPs and of Canadians, but he continues to cling to power. He and his top economic advisor, Mark Carney, forced the former Finance Minister to blow past her already out-of-control $40 billion fiscal guardrail, which was already out of control, as I said, and forced her to run a whopping $62 billion deficit. This Prime Minister has added more to the national debt than all Prime Ministers before him combined. This profligate spending contributes to inflation. People are suffering. When will he call an election? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, the fall economic statement was tabled in the House of Commons yesterday. It is an economic statement which talks about economic growth and supporting Canadians through difficult times with a high cost of living. The economic statement also discusses our responsibility to use taxpayer money and responsibly, to spend it responsibly. And, Mr. Speaker, that is exactly what we will continue to do, all while keeping an eye on exactly what support Canadians need from their national government. The Honourable Member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. How can we believe the new finance minister? How can we have confidence in what he is saying when yesterday he wasn't even able to answer a journalist's question, what is the national debt of Canada? Now, the former finance minister said in her letter yesterday, and this is very important, I quote, "We need to keep our fiscal powder dry today so we have the reserves that we may need for a coming tariff war." That means eschewing costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford and which make Canadians doubt that we recognize the gravity of the moment, unquote. That was her message, the message of the former finance minister to the Prime Minister, who never listens to anyone. Call an election now.